Hola, buenos días. Soy Nico.
Clock that T.
Clock it.
Clock that T.
Clock it.
Clock that T.
Clock it. This my
And today we're here to start off another wonderful week's worth of content. Well, yes, no, there was not a Nico's quick chat because I was busy yesterday. But before we get started, if you like this kind of content, make sure to follow me on patreon.com/Nicosaesthetics for more exclusive videos, weekly live streams, and be a part of the live streams where we have very panel conversation on various topics depending on the week. If that sounds interesting to you, definitely tune in. And last video's comment was about Dylan Faze coming out towards Jordan Starr and his husband Brian, basically saying that he went on a content creator trip with them. And when he did, they basically said, you're going to do exactly what I say, film with who I say, when I say so, or else you're cut off and stuck in a different country where you don't know where to go. And someone basically said, which I agree with, and this isn't to victim shame, whenever you travel, you need to make sure that you have enough finances to at least get home by yourself. Even if you are promised a trip and promised expenses paid, heck, if we want to go to the mainstream, you can look at Ice Spice and Cleopatra, how that whole situation happened when Ice Spice said, hey, come on tour with me, girl, I got you, I'm paying for everything, don't worry, just drop everything and come with me. She did so, and then when she got there, it was funny energy, and suddenly she wasn't in the budget. So, like I always tell people, if you want to participate in flued out culture, if you want to get flued out to see a man, to see somebody that you're interested in, make sure that you have enough finances to at least get home. That means if you had to go on that trip with $589 because the flight back is $499 with tax, that's what you got to do. Is what you got to do for your own safety. But now that we've gotten out of the way, let's get started on the actual topic. Today, white chocolate 2.0. Nico, I actually covered a story fairly similar to this a couple of years ago called White Chocolate Throws Freak Twitter into an Uproar or something. I'm going to link it. Basically, where Marco Paris, who is a German content creator, is now living in a black neighborhood, so he has taken on the personification of a wigger. He says that he is a nigga to the bone and that he should be accepted within the community and blah blah blah. When he got pushback, he went to Waffle House to give a random black family a free breakfast. I don't know. If you want to go watch that, really messy, it's better. I'm going to link it, don't worry. Just know that was a couple of years ago, so my video editing and my actual commentary is a bit rough around the edges. But let's get on to the actual story, which is YoungGotti8. Who is YoungGotti8? He is essentially White Chocolate 2.0 because he is a white Caucasian man, to my knowledge. Maybe he is of Latin American descent. I don't know that much about him. Basically, he lives in the hood. His pinned tweet is him talking about how he goes to prison and how he loves having fun in prison with the big black men there. And one thing I will say is I've always seen him collaborate with black people. I don't know him. I only see him every now and then when it comes to like a hood collaboration. And when I say hood, I mean like a particular filming style and like, you know what I mean. So he is always in that, so I figured he had to be at least biracial, but recently he came out to make a tweet marketing a very old video, basically saying the YNs love me more than when grandma says, hey, come get this fried chicken, or something like that. Basically saying black men love him more than they love fried chicken. And I had to sit back and think, because at first I only saw the YN part. If you do not know what YN represents, it is a new slang with the black youth, basically meaning young. So I assumed it was originally about that, and then I saw the fried chicken bar and I was thrown completely out of the loop because he began to get into it in the comments with people that were upset with his verbiage, and even the person in the video, because the performer that actually collaborated him quote tweeted this video basically saying, I did not approve this title. I told him to actually take this down because it's offensive and he's being racist for no reason because this was years ago and I have no connection to him. So if you can, report this weirdo. And people were in the comments basically going, are you actually black? I'm not understanding why you're using this word. And he continuously came back and said, I'm not black, but I am an N-word. And the reason I am is because it was my culture. This is the culture I was raised in. This is the culture I grew up in. And he was getting rightfully lit up because your culture does not define your race. When it comes to culture, because I have white friends that grew up in the hood, I'm from the country, they like R&B music, they like hip hop, they like rap, they like the clothing. They do not use the words that Black people reclaim in their own vocabulary. And before people even get started on, oh, it's a word, I'm one of those people, I do not even use the word in mixed company. Nico, what do you mean? If I'm in company with people who are non-Black, I do not use the N-word for the sole fact that I don't want people to feel comfortable enough to say it in my presence, thinking that it's all okay because I said it. So as someone who has mixed friend groups at times, I just completely omit it out of my vocabulary if I'm not surrounded by Black people. So when this conversation began to happen, I would be more open to having that conversation, seeing as how if you're raised in a culture, you've been saying this word all your life, you get on the internet and people that think a bit more progressively tell you, hey, you shouldn't say that word. I understand there's conflict. But when you look at the entire message of him saying, oh, they love me more than they love fried chicken, and when he was in the comments and he was basically defending this saying, Black people love fried chicken. I know Black people, what do you mean? I'm just sitting here like, this cannot be real life. Because once again, when it comes to actually saying the word, there's a dialogue that we can have on it, basically meaning you're not a part of this racial group, so you're not reclaiming its power, you're just using it to be trendy. But in this situation where you're actively saying you love fried chicken and this white coochie, girl, it's above me. It's above me now at that point. But then when I was looking, I know it's going to be a little on the top of me. I was looking and I saw him interacting with other performers, and as per usual, he does film with mostly Black people. I think he even follows me, so it's just, he's not personally my type. I'm not going to go in on his appearance like other people were doing, but he was basically interacting with other performers, and then Jacoby pops up. And one thing I will say, I will give credit to Jacoby in this scenario because he was interacting and engaging with it, but this was before this entire fried chicken situation happened. But in the comments, he was basically like, Jacoby, when you gonna let me run up in you in front of your boyfriend? I might even bring my homeboy to tag in. And Jacoby's like, sir, oh my God. And I don't know, maybe it's because people say I don't act like a normal performer when I'm online because I'm not like extremely hypersexual. I'm not like devoid of couth. But girl, don't ever let nobody address you like that. And this is not even me like shading you, Jacoby. This is just me saying, as a performer, as an adult, as a person, never let nobody address you with, when you gonna let me and my homeboy run up in you and you like, only if your homeboy is verse 2. Like, girl, have some self-respect. I don't know. I don't like it when people talk extremely vulgar to someone to the point of like denigration, and he's calling you promiscuous names while also basically demoting you to like just something to use, and you're just excited to be used. Like, girl, just me to you. This isn't shade once again because this is before the whole fried chicken thing. Stand up. And then he began to have a conversation on how he is a part of the community and that he actually understands what it's like to be disrespected and excluded because of his race and skin color. So he doesn't understand why he's getting so much pushback from the community that he grew up in, because one time he went to a club and he was turned away at the door and the person said his friend could go in who was Black. That's discrimination. And somebody basically came back and said, girl, I was there at the club. You and your boyfriend were, flying kites with Miss Tina, and that you were dazed and confused and could barely form a sentence while standing at the club door, and he kicked y'all out. So that was that person's account, and here are some more comments on what other people think about the situation. But with this information at hand, I'm going to lead the conversation up to y'all, because once again, completely out of bounds, in my opinion, because you can't even do the whole conversation of, okay, it's in your vocabulary because of where you grew up in your surroundings, for the sole fact that he added in the fried chicken joke, which emphasized the racial aspect of the tweet. But do you feel like people of color, non-Black people, white people, because once again, I do not know his heritage, he looks white to me, but I'm just not going to throw that on him. Do you believe they have the right to say the N-word if they grew up in Black culture with Black neighborhoods and all they know is Black people? Do you feel like that's acceptable? Because I feel like in 2025, we no longer have the N-word past conversations because we all know it's not. But I want to hear your opinions down below. How do you feel about content creators like Marco Paris or YoungGotti8, who predominantly film with black people but disrespect them with their verbiage and how they actively interact with them on camera, seeing as how he's talking to Jacoby like he's a walking fleshlight, and or saying black people love him more than they love fried chicken. I mean, even if we look at Margot Paris, when he got pushed back for using the N-word, all he did was go to Waffle House and pick a random black family at a table and said, hey, here's a free breakfast. I'm not racist. But you know, it's above me. Maybe I don't have the range to have this conversation, so I'm going to leave it up to y'all, and I will see you guys next time. Boop. And now for a brief yet sincere shout out to this week's Third Eye Tier subscribers, Cyrus S. and Topher. Your continued support is greatly appreciated, and thank you once again to everyone who supports the channel. We finally hit 42K girly! And this week's livestream discussion will be over flued out culture, whether you've been flued out, whether you'd want to be, and if you'd be able to travel on your own if anything went wrong. If that sounds interesting to you, definitely tune in. Varied, hold on, where we have very top, but just know that that was a couple of years ago, so my video editing and